Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here today to unpack some of the invisible forces that really shape our daily lives.
That's right.
Have you ever stopped to think about how much of your day just sort of happens on autopilot? You know, those little unconscious things, grabbing your phone first thing, the way you drive to work without thinking, maybe how you react when you get, like, a stressful email.
Yeah, absolutely. Those patterns.
It's honestly pretty astonishing how much of our existence is governed by these ingrained patterns. Habits, right?
Exactly, habits.
And the research points to something like 40, maybe even 50% of our daily actions being driven by them.
It's a huge chunk. Really is.
It just makes you wonder, how can something so fundamental, so, deeply wired into us, be properly understood? And maybe more importantly, how can we change it? Or, intentionally rewire things for our own growth?
Well, that's precisely what we're diving into today.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Our mission here is to take a really comprehensive look at this fascinating research paper, The Science of Habits, Rewiring Your Brain.
Right.
And the goal isn't just theory. It's about extracting actionable insights, practical stuff you can use to, well, literally help rewire your brain for positive change.
Actionable is key, yeah.
Definitely. We'll be digging into the mix of psychology, neuroscience, behavioral science, all the foundations that underpin these habits.
Okay.
Hopefully giving you a clear but still thorough understanding of how you can start taking a bit more control and, steering things towards your goals.
I mean, that figure alone, 40 to 50% of our actions, it's not just incredible, it's kind of humbling when you think about it.
It really is.
It just shines a light on how much of life operates outside of our conscious awareness, doesn't it? And it leads straight to that big question people have asked for. Well, forever, really. If so much is automatic, how on earth do we change the stuff we want to change? How do we rewire those deep patterns for, say, better mental health or peak performance or just personal growth?
Yeah, it feels like trying to unlock some kind of secret code to being better, doesn't it?
Totally. Like the user manual we never got.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating, as you hinted, is this isn't some new 21st century question. Not at all.
Right. It feels older.
Oh, much older.
Yeah.
If we zoom out a bit, the whole exploration of habits has these, incredibly ancient philosophical roots.
Okay, how far back are we talking?
Think Aristotle. Way back, around 300 BC.
Wow. Okay.
He famously said something like, "We are what we repeatedly do." He saw habits not just as routines, but as the literal building blocks of our character, a virtue.
So habits defined you, basically.
In his view, absolutely. Repeated actions weren't just actions. They formed your essence, who you are. It just shows how long we've been fascinated by this idea, how routines shape us. It was fundamental even before we knew anything about neurons.
That's incredible. So it wasn't just about efficiency back then. It was about morality, character.
Precisely. Then fast forward quite a bit to the 19th century, and you get William James, often called the father of American psychology.
Ah, James. Heard of him.
Right. In his big work, The Principles of Psychology, this is 1890, he brings a much more systematic, almost biological angle to habits.
Okay, so moving towards science now.
Exactly. James argued that habits aren't just in our heads, they're a physiological necessity. His point was, our brains need habits to conserve mental energy.
That makes intuitive sense.
Think about it. If you had to consciously decide every tiny action all day, how to tie your shoes, walk upstairs, form a sentence,
You'd be completely wiped out by breakfast.
totally exhausted.
Yeah.
So in James's view, habits are the brain's clever way of automating the mundane stuff.
The shortcuts.
The ultimate shortcuts. It frees up your conscious mind, your, executive functions for the hard stuff, problem solving, creativity, making big decisions. It's all about efficiency. Habits make us mentally agile by handling the routine tasks.
That efficiency argument is really powerful. It explains why they feel so automatic.
Definitely. And then the early 20th century saw this huge acceleration with the rise of behaviorism.
Okay, Skinner and Pavlov vibes.
Exactly that vibe. B.F. Skinner especially, and his whole idea of operant conditioning. This really laid the foundation for understanding how habits get locked in, reinforced.
Right, the rewards and punishments.
Precisely. Skinner showed, pretty meticulously, that behaviors followed by rewards become more likely. Behaviors followed by punishment, less likely. It's straightforward, but profound.
Can you give a quick example?
Sure. Think about a student studying. They study hard. They get a good grade. It's a positive reward. Makes them more likely to study hard next time, right?
Yep.
Conversely, maybe you hit the snooze button too many times. You end up late, stressed out. That's a negative consequence. Your brain learns, okay, that action led to bad stuff, so you become hopefully less likely to do it again.
Okay.
That basic principle reinforcement, positive or negative, is just central to how habits form and why they stick so firmly.
So we've got Aristotle in character, James on mental energy, Skinner on reinforcement. What came next?
This is where it gets really exciting, I think. The late 20th, early 21st century brought the cognitive revolution.
Right, the brain finally enters the picture properly.
Exactly, a huge shift. We started integrating cutting-edge neuroscience directly into understanding habits, moving beyond just watching behavior, beyond abstract ideas to actually looking inside the brain.
Seeing the wiring.
Literally, understanding habit formation down to the cellular, even molecular level. We started observing the actual brain mechanisms, seeing neural pathways form and strengthen. It was the hard science backing up centuries of thinking.
That historical arc is just fascinating. From philosophy to psychology, now neuroscience, each layer adding more detail.
It's a beautiful progression of understanding, isn't it?
Yeah, like zooming in closer and closer over centuries. And now we have this clear picture. It really is a testament to, well, human curiosity.
Absolutely.
And all that history, all that discovery. It brings us to one of the most, I think, practical and useful concepts for understanding habits today.
You're probably thinking of the habit loop.
Exactly, that core mechanism.
Precisely. And yes, central to understanding how habits work day to day, and crucially how we might change them, is this concept, the habit loop. It was really popularized by Charles Duhigg in his book, The Power of Habit.
Great book, by the way.
Definitely worth reading. The model basically simplifies what's a pretty complex neurobiological process into three really clear parts: the cue, the routine, and the reward.
Cue, routine, reward. Okay.
And understanding these isn't just academic. It's like the key to unlocking both building good habits and breaking bad ones.
So let's break them down. First up, the cue.
Right, the cue. Or you can call it the trigger. It's the spark, the on switch for the habit. It signals your brain, okay, time to run that automatic program.
And cues can be anything, right? Not just obvious stuff.
Anything. That's key. It could be external, sensory, like you see a notification on your phone, boom, trigger.
Guilty.
Or a specific time, maybe 5 p.m. hits, and suddenly you want that snack or that coffee.
Yep. Location too.
Definitely. Walk into the kitchen, automatically reach for the cookie jar. That's a location cue. But they can also be internal, more subtle, like a feeling stress, boredom, loneliness, even just feeling tired. That feeling can trigger a habit, maybe a comfort habit.
Like stress eating, for example.
Exactly. The brain is constantly scanning for these cues, often totally unconsciously. And the cue doesn't just start the action. It often kicks off a craving for the reward that's coming.
Craving starts early. Okay, so cue, then comes the routine.
Then the routine. This is the actual behavior, the action you take, or even the mental sequence you go through in response to that cue.
And this is the automatic part.
Totally automatic. That's the defining feature. If the cue was the phone notification, the routine is picking up, unlocking, opening the app, scrolling.
Oh, without really thinking.
Exactly. If the cue is feeling stressed, the routine might be lighting a cigarette, grabbing chips, or even like spiraling into negative self-talk. That can be a routine too.
An internal routine. Interesting.
Yeah. And because it's automatic, it's efficient, but it also makes it really hard to just stop mid-routine. The track is already laid down.
Okay. Cue, routine, and the payoff. The reward.
And finally, the reward. This is the crucial part that closes the loop. It's the satisfaction, the pleasure, the relief, the benefit, whatever it is that you get after doing the routine.
And this tells the brain, do that again.
Precisely. It tells your brain, hey, that whole sequence, cue, then routine, that worked out well. Remember this. Repeat it.
So what kind of rewards are we talking about?
Could be anything. For the social media habit, the reward might be that little dopamine hit from a like, or feeling connected, or just relief from boredom. For stress eating, the reward might be temporary comfort, distraction, maybe just the physical sensation of eating. For smoking, maybe it's relaxation or satisfying the nicotine craving.
Right. It's not always obvious pleasure. Sometimes it's relief.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the reinforcement, that feeling pleasure, relief, accomplishment, even just less discomfort that strengthens the neural pathways for that habit. Makes it more likely to fire next time the cue pops up.
Yeah.
Without a reward, the loop eventually fades.
Okay, that makes sense. Cue, routine, reward. Sounds simple, but
incredibly powerful. And the science backs it up. Neuroscientific studies using things like fMRI scans have actually watched these circuits activate in the brain.
They can see the loop happening.
They can see distinct patterns of activation. And a key area involved is a deep brain structure called the basal ganglia.
Basal ganglia.
Think of it as like the brain's autopilot control center. Once a behavior becomes a habit, the basal ganglia takes over encoding and running that routine, freeing up your conscious brain.
So it's not just a neat psychological model, it's physically happening in there.
It's a tangible brain process, absolutely.
Wow, okay, that's a really powerful framework. Let's try a super common example, maybe one almost everyone listening can relate to. Waking up, and the very first thing, maybe even before your feet hit the floor, is grabbing your phone and scrolling social media. How does that fit the loop?
Okay, yeah, perfect example. Let's break it down. The cue, there could be several things, right?
Like the alarm going off?
Could be the alarm. Could be just the act of waking up itself, that shift from sleep to alertness. Could be seeing the phone right there on the nightstand.
Or even just feeling bored for that split second.
Exactly. Or maybe a little anxious about the day. That internal feeling. The brain links that state, waking up, quietness, maybe slight anxiety with the potential stimulation from the phone.
Okay, so that's the cue. The routine then is?
The routine is the automatic sequence. Reaching, grabbing the phone, unlocking it, muscle memory, opening Instagram or whatever, and then just starting to scroll.
Mindlessly, yeah. Done it a million times.
With almost zero conscious thought. It's like an extension of waking up.
And a reward. What's the brain getting out of that scroll fest?
Well, the reward here is probably multifaceted. It could be that quick hit of new information, seeing what happened overnight.
FOMO avoidance.
Totally.
Yeah.
Avoiding the fear of missing out. It could be the little dopamine buzz from a notification, seeing a like or a comment, or simply the feeling of distraction. Filling that quiet morning moment with digital noise. Maybe it feels like catching up before the day starts. All those things tell the brain, yep, that was satisfying. Let's do it again tomorrow.
It's so clear when you lay it out like that. Cue, waking, seeing, phone. Routine, grabbing, scrolling. Reward, infodopamine distraction. Simple, yet
incredibly self-reinforcing. That's the power and the trap of the loop.
Okay, so given how simple it sounds, cue, routine, reward, what are some common mistakes people make when they try to figure out their own loops for habits they want to change? Because I imagine it's not always that straightforward, is it?
No, definitely not. That's a great question because the simplicity can mask the trickiness of self-analysis.
Right.
One huge mistake is not getting specific enough about the cue. People say, oh, I snack when I'm stressed.
Okay, seems specific.
But stressed is vague. Is it after a particular type of meeting? Is it before you start a hard task? Is it when you feel that knot in your stomach? You need to pinpoint the exact trigger, the time, the place, the emotion, the preceding action, who else is around.
Got it. Drill down on the cue. What else?
Misunderstanding the reward. This is huge. You might think you're snacking because you're hungry, but maybe the real reward you're craving is actually procrastination from a boring task. Or maybe it's comfort because you feel anxious. Or maybe it's just the stimulation of crunching something when you're bored. If you try to substitute the habit, but you address the wrong reward, like you replaced chips with carrots, but the reward you really wanted was distraction, not food, it won't stick.
Because the craving isn't being satisfied.
Exactly. So you have to be almost like a detective or a scientist, observing yourself without judgment. Asking, what was I really feeling just before? What did I really get out of that? It takes honesty and awareness.
That self-awareness piece seems critical.
Absolutely critical. And that leads us nicely into how the brain actually makes all this possible, the machinery behind the scenes.
Okay, let's go deeper into the brain's master builders.
Exactly. We need to talk about the mechanisms that allow habits to form, but also, crucially, allow them to change. And the absolute bedrock concept here is neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity. Heard that term a lot. What does it really mean in this context?
Simply put, it's the brain's amazing, lifelong ability to reorganize itself. It does this by forming new connections between neurons and strengthening or weakening existing ones.
So the brain isn't fixed, like concrete?
Not at all. That's the old view. It's much more like plasticine or maybe a dynamic electrical grid. It's constantly adapting, learning, physically reshaping itself based on what we do, think, and experience.
Throughout our whole lives.
Throughout our entire lives. And honestly, without neuroplasticity, habit change would be impossible. We'd just be stuck with whatever wiring we had. It's the biological basis for learning and adaptation.
So our brain is constantly being sculpted by our actions.
Precisely. Think of it like a landscape, with pathways being carved by your behaviors.
Okay. And how does that carving actually happen?
Well, that brings us to a really fundamental idea called the Hebbian principle. It's often summed up with that catchy phrase, neurons that fire together, wire together.
Ah, yes. Fire together, wire together.
It's not just catchy, it's a deep neurobiological truth. Every time you repeat a behavior, playing guitar, doing a math problem, checking your phone automatically, the specific neurons involved in that action fire in a sequence.
Right.
And the more often they fire together in that same pattern, the stronger the connections, the synapses between them become. They get more efficient.
Like wearing a path in the grass.
Exactly like that. Or driving a car down a dirt road over and over. The path gets deeper, smoother, easier to travel.
So the habit becomes the brain's path of least resistance.
Literally. The physical wiring makes it incredibly efficient for your brain to just default to that established pattern. That's habit automation. And it also explains beautifully why old habits are so hard to break. You're fighting against deeply grooved, efficient physical pathways.
That makes so much sense of the struggle. It's not just mental laziness, it's actual brain structure.
It's physiology. Now, what provides the motivation, the drive to keep traveling down those paths? That's where the dopaminergic system comes in.
Okay, dopamine, the feel-good chemical, right?
Well, yes and no. It's often called that, and it is involved in pleasure, but its role in habits is a bit more nuanced. It's really about modulating reward-driven behavior. It signals salience like pay attention, this is important, and prediction.
Prediction.
Yeah, it's not just about enjoying the reward after you get it. A huge part of dopamine's role is the anticipation of the reward. That feeling of wanting, craving, expecting something good is driven by dopamine release before you even do the routine.
So the cue triggers dopamine, making you want the reward.
Exactly. The cue that predicts a reward can trigger a dopamine surge. Brain imaging studies show this clearly. Increased dopamine when you get a reward? Yes. But often an even bigger spike in response to the cue that predicts it.
Wow.
This dopamine acts like a powerful reinforcement signal. It essentially tells the brain, hey, that action triggered by that cue led to something good or predicted something good. Remember this pathway, strengthen it, do it again. It facilitates locking in the habit loop.
So the brain isn't just chasing pleasure, it's chasing the anticipation of pleasure.
That anticipation, that wanting, is often the more powerful driver for repeating the behavior.
Okay. That explains a lot about cravings.
It does, and it's a really elegant system, but it's also vulnerable.
Yeah.
We should briefly touch on the fact that when this dopamine system gets out of whack, gets dysregulated, well, that's heavily implicated in addictive behaviors.
Right, addiction hijacks this system.
Pretty much. Substances or behaviors that cause huge, unnatural dopamine floods can essentially overwhelm the system. The brain becomes compulsively driven to seek that reward, that dopamine hit, even when it's causing harm elsewhere in life, health, relationships, work.
So it highlights how powerful this reward pathway is.
Incredibly powerful, and it shows the delicate balance involved. Understanding this helps us see why simply stopping an addictive behavior is so hard, and why effective habit change strategies need to be mindful of these powerful underlying drives. It's not just about willpower against a chemical storm.
That's just incredible. The brain's adaptability, neuroplasticity, it's mind-blowing, really.
It truly is.
And linking neurons that fire together, wire together, directly to why habits are hard to break, it makes it feel less like a personal failing and more like, well, physics.
Brain physics, yeah.
You're literally trying to carve a new path while the old one is smooth and deep. So if our brain naturally prefers the easy, established path, what are the actual strategies? How do we leverage all this amazing science to actively build the habits we want and dismantle the ones we don't? What's the practical toolkit?
Okay, great question. This is where we shift gears from the how it works to the how to change it. And the good news is, building on all that understanding, researchers have developed a whole range of evidence-based techniques. We really do have a strategic toolkit.
All right, let's open the toolkit. What's first?
One of the heavy hitters, widely used and effective, is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT.
CBT. Heard of it mainly for things like anxiety and depression. How does it apply to habits?
Well, the core idea of CBT is that our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are all interconnected, right?
Yeah.
So CBT helps you identify and challenge the unhelpful or irrational thought patterns that often drive unwanted habits. If you change the thought, you can change the feeling, and then change the behavior.
Can you give an example related to a habit?
Sure. Let's take procrastination again. Someone might procrastinate because they have underlying thoughts like, this has to be perfect and I can't make it perfect, or I'm going to fail anyway, so why start?
Right, those debilitating thoughts.
CBT would help that person catch those thoughts, examine the evidence for or against them. Are they really true? And then actively reframe them into something more realistic and constructive, like perfection isn't necessary, progress is, or it might be challenging, but I can handle challenges step by step.
So you're changing the internal self-talk that fuels the procrastination habit.
Exactly. You're performing cognitive restructuring. By changing the thought pattern, you reduce the anxiety or overwhelm that triggers the procrastination routine, making it easier to just start the task.
That makes sense. Targeting the thoughts behind the action. Hey, what else is in the toolkit?
Another really practical and powerful technique is using implementation intentions.
Implementation intentions. Sounds formal.
It sounds a bit formal, but the idea is super simple and effective. It's not just setting a vague goal like, I want to exercise more.
Which usually doesn't work on its own.
Right. An implementation intention forces you to get specific by creating an if-then plan. You decide in advance how you're going to respond to a specific cue.
Okay, like a pre-programmed response.
Exactly. So instead of, I want to exercise more, you create a plan like, if it's 7 a.m. on Tuesday morning, then I will put on my running shoes and go outside for 20 minutes. Or maybe if I finish lunch, then I will immediately walk around the block.
So you link a specific situation, the IF, with a specific action, the THEAN.
Precisely. The power here is that you've removed the need for in-the-moment decision-making. When the if situation occurs, the then action is already decided. You don't have to rely on willpower or debate with yourself. The plan just kicks in.
Like setting up an automatic link in your brain.
That's a great way to put it. And studies show this dramatically increases the chances of actually following through on goals because it reduces that friction of deciding.
I like that. Very practical. Okay, CBT, implementation intentions. What's next?
Mindfulness-based interventions are also incredibly valuable, especially for tackling those really automatic, unconscious habits.
Mindfulness. So meditation, being present.
It often involves practices like meditation, yes. But the core principle is enhancing self-awareness, paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, urges, but doing it without judgment.
Okay, how does that help with habits?
When you practice mindfulness, you get better at noticing the subtle cues and urges that trigger your habits before you automatically act on them.
You catch them earlier.
Exactly. Instead of just reacting like feeling bored and instantly reaching for your phone, mindfulness creates a little pause. A space between the cue, boredom, and the routine, grabbing a phone.
A moment of choice.
A moment of choice, even if it's just for a second or two. That space allows you to consciously decide, do I really want to do this right now, or could I choose something else? It reduces the sheer automaticity of the habit and gives you back some conscious control. You learn to observe the urge without necessarily obeying it.
Training the brain to notice, not just react. I see. That's powerful too.
Very powerful. And then one more really practical technique that's gained a lot of traction is habit stacking.
Habit stacking. This sounds like building things.
Kind of.
Huh.
It's a clever way to build new habits by attaching them to ones you already have. You leverage the existing ingrained neural pathways.
Okay. How does that work? Give me an example.
Sure. Let's say you already have a solid habit of brushing your teeth every morning. That's your established routine.
Yep. Hopefully.
Hopefully. So you could stack a new habit onto it. The formula is, after current habit, I will have it. New habit. So after I brush my teeth, I will do 10 push-ups.
Ah, okay. So the old habit becomes the cue for the new one.
Exactly. Or after I pour my morning coffee, I will sit down and meditate for 1 minute. Or after I take off my work shoes, I will immediately change into my gym clothes.
So you're using the momentum of the old habit to carry the new one along.
Precisely. It makes the new habit feel less like starting something totally new and effortful, and more like just a small extension of something you already do automatically. It reduces the activation energy needed.
That's brilliant. It's like habit engineering your day.
It really is about designing your routines for success by linking behaviors together.
Okay, wow. CBT, implementation intentions, mindfulness, habit stacking. That is genuinely a fantastic toolkit. It feels like there are real concrete strategies people can try.
Definitely.
The implementation intentions and habit stacking seem particularly, I don't know, user-friendly. Like you could start applying them immediately.
They are very practical, yes.
I can just picture someone saying, okay, if I finish dinner, then I'll put my plate straight in the dishwasher. Or, okay, after I close my laptop for the day, then I'll tidy my desk for 2 minutes. It bypasses that whole, I should feel.
It makes the decision ahead of time.
So for someone trying, say, habit stacking, what's a common way it can go wrong? A pitfall to watch out for?
Good question. Couple things come to mind. One big pitfall is making the new habit too big or too difficult at the start.
Trying to do too much too soon.
Exactly. If your sock is, after I brush my teeth, I will write 1,000 words of my novel, that's probably going to fail quickly unless you're already a disciplined writer.
Right. Start small.
Start ridiculously small, almost trivially easy. After I brush my teeth, I will write one sentence. Make it so easy you can't say no. You can always build up later.
Okay, keep the new habit tiny at first. What else?
Another thing is not being explicit enough about the link. Just vaguely thinking, I'll try to meditate after coffee, isn't as strong as clearly stating or even writing down the after coffee I will meditate for 1 minute formula. Make the connection concrete in your mind.
Got it. Be explicit.
And of course, consistency trumps intensity. Doing that tiny new habit every single time after the old one, even if it's just for the seconds, is far more powerful for building the neural pathway than doing a longer session sporadically.
Consistency, consistency, consistency. Okay. That's super helpful advice. It really sounds like we have these powerful, actionable techniques, but we also need realistic expectations, right? Habit change isn't magic. It takes time, and there are hurdles.
Oh, absolutely. Having the tools is one thing. Navigating the actual journey is another. And yes, managing expectations is crucial.
So how long does it really take to form a habit? I've heard 21 days thrown around a lot.
The infamous 21 days myth. Yeah, that's largely based on a misinterpretation of some much older observations. The most cited solid empirical study on this was done by Philippa Lally and her team back in 2009.
Okay, what did Lally find?
They tracked people trying to form new, simple health habits like eating fruit with lunch or going for a run. What they found was that, on average, it took about 66 days for the behavior to become automatic.
66 days? That's more like 2 months, not 3 weeks.
Exactly. And crucially, that 66 days was just the average. There was huge variation.
How much variation?
It ranged from 18 days for some people and some habits, all the way up to 254 days for others.
Wow, 254 days. That's like 8 months.
Right. It really depends on the complexity of the habit itself. Drinking a glass of water is easier to automate than, say, a complex workout routine or learning a new language daily. And it also depends heavily on the individual personality, consistency, motivation, circumstances.
So the key takeaway is be patient and don't beat yourself up if it takes longer than 21 days.
Absolutely. Forget 21 days. Think months, potentially. Persistence and consistency over a couple of months at least is usually what's needed for that automaticity to really kick in. Don't quit too early.
That's such an important expectation to set. Okay, so we know it takes time. Where are these principles actually being used out in the world?
Oh, they're everywhere, really, once you start looking. Think about corporate wellness programs trying to nudge employees towards healthier choices.
Yeah, like putting fruit bowls out instead of donuts.
Exactly. That's environmental design based on cues. Or encouraging walking meetings, habit stacking work onto movement. We see it constantly in digital habit tracking apps, too.
Right, the reminders, the streaks.
Those are cues and rewards. They leverage the habit loop. Clinically, therapists use these techniques constantly for things like anxiety management, using mindfulness or addiction recovery, helping people identify triggers and replace routines. Even in schools, teachers use reinforcement to build good study habits.
So it's really moved from the lab into everyday applications.
Definitely. It's robust science with tangible impact.
Even with the science and the apps, it's still hard. People struggle. Why? What are the big barriers that trip us up?
Great question. Because, yeah, knowing isn't always enough. There are several persistent barriers that make change difficult, and recognizing them is half the battle.
Okay, lay them on us. What's barrier number one?
First up, our own brains work against us sometimes through cognitive biases.
Biases, like unconscious shortcuts in thinking.
Exactly. Two really common ones that sabotage habit change are present bias and status quo bias.
Okay, present bias. What's that?
Present bias is our tendency to massively prefer immediate gratification over larger rewards that are further away in time.
Like choosing the pleasure of scrolling Instagram now versus the long-term benefit of working on a project.
Perfect example. Or eating the cake now versus the future benefit of better health. Our brain just weighs the right now much more heavily than the later. Even if later is objectively better, it discounts the future.
Ugh, yeah, I feel that one. And status quo bias.
Status quo bias is simply our deep-seated resistance to change. We tend to prefer things to stay as they are, even if the current situation isn't great, or is even harmful.
Why do we do that?
Change feels inherently risky and effortful to the brain. The known, even if flawed, feels safer than the unknown. Overcoming that inertia, that pull to just keep doing what we're doing, takes real conscious effort.
So our brains are wired for immediate rewards and staying put. Great combo for trying to change.
Not ideal. Barrier number 2, environmental triggers. We often underestimate how much our surroundings cue our old habits.
Like the cookie jar example again.
Exactly. Or the notifications constantly popping up on your phone. Or the candy strategically placed at the checkout counter. Our environment is often designed, intentionally or not, to trigger specific behaviors, many of them unhealthy or unproductive.
So we're battling our environment too.
Constantly. Unless you actively redesign your environment to remove or minimize those triggers for unwanted habits and maybe add cues for desired ones, you're fighting an uphill battle against constant temptation.
Redesigning the environment. Okay, what's barrier 3?
Stress and emotional states. This is a huge one.
How does stress mess with habits?
When we're stressed, anxious, sad, angry, even just really tired, our executive functions, the part of the brain responsible for self-control, planning, decision-making, tend to get depleted.
Right, your brain power goes down.
Yeah. And when that happens, the brain tends to default to the path of least resistance, which is
the old established habit.
Exactly. It seeks comfort and efficiency in the familiar automatic routine because conscious choice takes too much energy. That's why people often relapse into old habits, smoking, overeating, biting nails during stressful times, even when they consciously want to stick to their new path. The brain is just trying to cope and conserve energy.
Wow. Okay, cognitive biases, environmental triggers, and stress emotions. That's a formidable trio of barriers.
It really is. And tackling them effectively often requires a multidisciplinary approach. It's rarely just about gritting your teeth and using more willpower.
So what does that approach look like?
It involves things like behavioral design, consciously setting up your world to make good habits easy and bad habits hard, like leaving your running shoes right by the door.
Making the desired action frictionless.
Precisely. It involves environmental restructuring, actively getting rid of the cues for bad habits. Don't buy the junk food in the first place, turn off the notifications, move the TV out of the bedroom.
Taking control of your surroundings.
Yes. And crucially, it involves building psychological resilience. This means developing better emotional regulation skills, learning to manage stress effectively, practicing self-compassion when you slip up, and strengthening that mental fortitude to keep going, even when it's tough.
So it's about designing your environment and your inner landscape.
That's a perfect way to put it. Both are essential for sustainable change.
You know, hearing you list those barriers, the biases, the triggers, the stress effect, it's actually kind of validating.
How so?
Because everyone struggles with habit change, and knowing these scientifically recognized reasons makes it feel less like a personal failing. You know, it's not just me being weak-willed when I slip up during a stressful week.
Exactly. It's predictable human psychology and physiology at play.
It reframes the struggle. It's not, I failed, it's okay, my present bias kicked in, or that environmental cue was too strong, or my stress levels were high, so my brain defaulted. It gives you something concrete to work with next time.
Precisely. Understanding the why behind the difficulty is empowering, not discouraging. It helps you strategize better.
Yeah, it makes the whole challenge feel less mysterious and more solvable. Which leads us to think about the future. Where is all this heading? How is technology changing the game?
The future. Yeah, it's a really exciting time because emerging technologies are offering completely new ways to understand and intervene in habit formation. We're moving into new frontiers.
Okay, like what kind of tech are we seeing?
Well, one major area is artificial intelligence, AI. It's going way beyond basic habit tracking apps now.
How is AI helping?
We're seeing AI-driven applications that offer truly personalized habit coaching. These systems can analyze huge amounts of your behavioral data, when you succeed, when you fail, under what conditions, and adapt their recommendations specifically to you.
So it learns your patterns.
Exactly. It can learn your specific triggers, predict potential pitfalls based on your history, and offer tailored nudges or advice right when you might need it most. It's like having a super smart, personalized coach that really understands your habit architecture.
That sounds potentially game-changing. What else?
Biofeedback devices are another fascinating area.
Biofeedback? That's like seeing your heart rate or something.
Yeah, it can be heart rate variability, skin conductance, muscle tension, even brainwave patterns through neurofeedback. These devices give you real-time feedback on your physiological state.
And how does that help with habits?
It enhances self-regulation. By seeing how your body or brain responds in real time, say, seeing your stress level spike before you reach for comfort food, you can learn to consciously influence those responses. You learn to calm your nervous system, for example, thereby potentially removing the physiological trigger for the habit.
So you gain conscious control over previously unconscious responses.
Precisely. It's a powerful way to build internal awareness and control.
Okay, AI coaching, biofeedback. Anything more futuristic?
Well, further out, and still mostly in research for general habits, is neurostimulation.
Stimulating the brain directly. Sounds intense.
It involves using non-invasive techniques like TMS transcranial magnetic stimulation or TDCS transcranial direct current stimulation to directly influence activity in specific brain regions involved in habit pathways.
So you could, like, zap the bad habit pathway. Or boost the good one.
That's the theoretical potential being explored, yes.
Right.
Could we weaken the synaptic connections of an unwanted habit? Or strengthen the connections for a desired one? It's very early days for broad application, especially ethically, but it points towards directly manipulating the wiring together principle.
Wow. Directly editing the brain's habit circuits. That's something else.
It's definitely a frontier to watch. And beyond the specific technologies, future research is digging deeper too.
Where are researchers focusing now?
There's a lot of work on deepening our understanding of habit neurodynamics, really mapping the intricate real-time changes in neural networks as habits form and break, getting super granular.
Finer detail in the brain processes.
Exactly. Also developing much more sophisticated habit intervention algorithms for those AI tools, making them even more adaptive and effective.
Smarter digital coaching.
Right. And maybe one of the most intriguing areas is exploring potential genetic predispositions to habitual behavior.
Genetics. So some people are just wired to form habits more easily or break them.
That's the question being explored. Are there genetic factors that influence dopamine sensitivity or impulsivity or reward processing, which in turn make certain habit patterns more likely? It hints at a future where interventions could be personalized, not just psychologically, but maybe even genetically.
Tailoring habit strategies right down to your DNA. That's mind-bending. It really is incredible to think about. AI coaches that get you, biofeedback, letting you literally see your brain learn self-control, maybe even neurostimulation tweaking the pathways. Science is genuinely handing us more and more sophisticated tools.
That's the trajectory.
It feels like the future of changing habits might be less about pure grinding willpower and more like a smart collaboration between our intention, our biology, and these advanced tools.
A partnership, in a way. Leveraging science to work with our brains, not just against them.
Yeah, empowering us with more precise ways to actually take control.
So if we bring this all together, what we've really explored today is that the science of habits shows this complex but ultimately understandable dance. It's brain chemistry, neuroplasticity, dopamine weaving together with psychological factors like our thoughts and biases, all playing out within the context of our environment and its cues.
It's all connected.
Deeply connected. And the big insight, the power, comes from understanding you can leverage these pieces. You can understand the habit loop, harness your brain's ability to change through neuroplasticity, and apply those evidence-based tools, CBT, implementation intentions, mindfulness, habit stacking. These aren't just interesting ideas, they're strategic levers you can pull.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? It means you're equipped. You've got this deeper understanding of the invisible architecture shaping so much of your life. This deep dive gives you a framework, a way to start seeing your own patterns, maybe dismantling the ones that don't serve you, and more excitingly, consciously building the habits that align with who you want to be, your goals, your well-being.
Moving from autopilot to the pilot seat?
Exactly. From just reacting to intentionally choosing, you really can be the architect of your own habits, armed with this knowledge.
Indeed. So maybe a final thought to leave you with. Consider, just for a moment, how much of what feels like your destiny is actually being shaped day by day by the automated behaviors you run on autopilot, the ones you choose, consciously or unconsciously, to keep doing. And knowing what you know now about the loops, the brain science, the tools, what's one small habit, just one, that you might intentionally choose to start cultivating, or perhaps gently nudge towards change starting today? How could that one small deliberate shift ripple outwards over time?
That's a powerful question to ponder. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating science of habits.
Our pleasure.
We hope you take these insights and use them to shape your world one intentional habit at a time.